And it wasn't until, we started really looking at, okay, what else is there besides communication tools and the basic mindset work that can help us get to a deeper level of connection? And sure, there's like Tantra and, lots of wonderful tools, but we didn't have the foundation of connecting to ourselves to really be able to connect deeply on that level together.
Welcome to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Main, sex and relationship coach and therapist, and I'm so honored to have you here. This podcast was created as a space for honest, nuanced, shame-free conversations about sex, intimacy, desire, relationships, and what it really means to feel at home in your body. Whether we're talking about pleasure, boundaries, communication, healing, or the messy middle of long-term relationships, this is a place where you don't have to have it all figured out in order to belong. As I enter into my 6th year of podcasting, I feel more committed than ever to helping you soften the pressure, trust your body, and build a relationship with your sexuality that feels grounded, empowered, and true to you. So take a breath, let yourself arrive, and know that wherever you're starting from is more than enough. Now, let's get into today's episode. Hello, hello. We are back for another episode today. And if you saw the title of this episode and thought, what the hell does that mean? I'm scared. I'm freaked out. My butthole is clenching. What does this mean? That's okay. We're here to normalize it. I have my good friend Shannon Hamaker on with me today to talk about this inner child learning or unlearning, if you will, and what we learned from the mother wounds, the father wounds that we might have had as our younger selves, and how this relates to our sexual lives. And so, a little bit about Shannon before she joins us here is that Shannon is a speaker, a somatic practitioner, and a certified sexual health educator, specializing in inner child work and how early relationships with our mother and father shape sex, intimacy, and emotional safety. She has over 20 years of experience in sexual and mental health and a degree in human development. And she helps people understand and heal inherited patterns that show up in our desires, our boundaries, and our connection. So, through trauma informed somatic practices, Shannon guides individuals to build nervous system resilience, reclaim pleasure, and create intimacy rooted in safety and choice. And Shannon and I, our paths crossed in our journeys with pure romance years ago, and we have stayed connected and stayed friends. And recently, in this last year, we have began working together again. We both coach for the Libido Fairy. Give them a follow on Instagram if you don't already. She has great content. That's our bestie and our boss, Hannah. And yeah, so it's been really cool working with Shannon this past year and learning more for myself included around inner child learning and again those mother and father wounds and how those are playing a part in life. So I hope that this episode is helpful for you to listen to. And please reach out again if something from the show landed to you. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Shannon. Or if you are interested in doing some sex coaching program related, like looking for community to support you and not feel alone in the world in whatever's going on in your sex life, again, reaching out and following the Libido Fairy on Instagram. We both, again, coach for that program, and it is amazing. The transformation that our students see going through this program, working through the inner child learning, the mother learning, the father learning, the traumas, the shame of our past. It is super, super powerful. So, all right, I'm going to stop yapping. Let's get Shannon into the room with us. All right. Hi, Shannon. Thank you so much for coming back on the show today.
Always, Rachel. I'll always come back.
Yes. They always come back.
hmm
Yeah, I was just, gosh, it seems like it was so long ago when I had Steve and you on the show to talk through the healing and whatnot that you guys did. And so this feels like a really good follow-up also to that episode. So if listeners haven't listened to that episode yet, I think that is a great one to check out. And you can go to the link in the bio, search Shannon, and that episode will come up as well as this one.
Yeah, it really is a perfect segue because that work that we did through inner child work and reparenting played such a major role in how we reconnected and what our life looks like now. So I love that we're coming back to this topic.
Yeah. And you, to me, you're like the inner child, mother, father, learning guru because you're constantly like in our coaching space, like bringing that up and bringing that to our attention and then now getting to teach our students about it as well has been amazing. And then seeing the aha moments that they've had through it. I think this work is, yeah, really important and I'm happy to have it as a show now, episode today rather, and shed some light on it. So I'm curious,
Hmm.
like you, right, there's many paths that we get to go down through, like in our healing journey. So what for you first led you to the inner child work and then why did you continue on with that as part of your teachings?
Well, I was a huge believer in mental work, mindset work and think positive. And it turns out I was doing a lot of bypassing and a lot of trying to logic my way out of things. And what I didn't realize were the patterns that I was bringing into relationship and in my life and how they created this story or this narrative that I was living out. And I didn't realize how powerful it was in connection with my husband, who had his own story and his own patterns that he was bringing into the relationship. And it wasn't until, we started really looking at, okay, what else is there besides communication tools and the basic mindset work that can help us get to a deeper level of connection. And sure, there's like Tantra and, lots of wonderful tools, but we didn't have the foundation of connecting to ourselves to really be able to connect deeply on that level together. So when we started doing this inner child work, for me, it really helped me take responsibility of how I was showing up and not putting mom and dad on trial, but really looking at what is it that I learned that I'm taking on as a truth that doesn't really serve me anymore? And how can I let my nervous system in on that practice? Because our nervous system is kind of the inner child that lives within us. We don't have like an actual child that lives in our body, but our nervous system holds a lot of the learning that the version of us learned up until about 10 that really took on these truths. So I got curious with that, and it was very empowering to know that I could take responsibility and I wasn't a victim. I kept trying to get others to fix me or do the thing that I wanted them to do. And it was so liberating to learn that I'm literally like the author of this play and I can rewrite this narrative that I'm living. And Steve did the same. He followed that path too, my husband, and now we've been married for 20 years and it's not easy, but it's so worth it to dig into this work.
Yeah. And yeah, essentially like sharing your life stories, like the good, the bad, all the messy middle, like with each other
Hmm.
and to be able to hold each other through that and still be there for one another despite what happened, right? I think that that is
Hmm.
yeah, Danny and I last night going through our sex timelines together, like that, like living in that experience right now and being able to share that with each other and learning about our upbringings around sex and experiences that we had as young people around sex. And yeah, I think it's so great to just, yeah, like again, be held through that and love through that.
Yeah. And when you have this idea of instead of like, what's wrong with you?
Hmm.
What happened to you? I wonder what happened to you. And I will picture my husband, who's now 55,
Hmm.
and I'll picture him as a child because sometimes it's not that he's intentionally trying to act like a child. It's there's something that he's operating from out of fear that kept him safe as a child that now I get to meet him in this compassion because I do the same.
Hmm.
I have my ways of showing up as a child who's scared and feels like I need to protect myself and behave a certain way. And when we show up that way, it's like we're showing up as like two adolescents trying to have a marriage.
Hmm.
And that
Hmm.
just doesn't work out very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like an adult conversation. It's like, let's heal some of these things first so that we can show up as the adult selves that we want to.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
can you tell us like how these early emotional experiences sort of like quietly shape our adult relationships and even our sexual selves?
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the parts that the parents play. I think I already shared that the inner child it's often a metaphor for our emotions and our nervous system.
Mhm.
So when we are operating out of a place of safety and we're grounded and we can communicate our needs, that is from a place of security and comfort and adult-like, conversation and communication with your partner.
Mhm.
But when we find ourselves in reaction from a place of fear, that's what turns our nervous system on to say, wait, this person may be a threat. And they're not. But we learned a lot of ways to stay safe as a kid. We learned several different ways, and there's some patterns that kind of help show what that might look like. So for my husband, I'm sure you've had, I think you've had people have talked about the attachment theory on here,
Mhm.
right? Attachment theory. So my husband was more avoidant. So if there was confrontation, he would avoid. If he was an overwhelm, he would almost leave his body, like kind of check out. He
Mhm.
would be there, but he would internally feel like, ooh, this energy is too much. It's like too much in my system. I'm just going to leave and check out and just agree. And what felt like I thought he was supportive, but he was really just going along to get along. So I didn't get the full autonomy, sovereign version of Steve weighing in on things. And it made sense why, based on the patterns that he learned as a kid. He
Mhm.
lived with two sisters, a very authoritative dad who was in the military. So there was a lot of demands and energy and chaos. And so he learned to just kind of check out and just go along to get along. And if you asked his parents would say, oh, he was the best kid. He was so easy. And
Mhm.
it's because he just went along to get along. So he didn't really have an internal compass of what felt true for him and what went into decision making. He just defaulted.
Mhm.
So that fit really well with the narrative that I was coming from, where my mom was kind of, as people say, wore the pants in the family.
Mhm.
And she is a wonderful mom. I learned a lot of amazing things from her, but also learned a lot of things that aren't necessarily supportive for the relationship that I have from my dad. So I learned by watching mom that you have to do everything. She
Mhm.
was the first wave feminist who was like, watch me. I'm going to kick ass at real estate, be this entrepreneur mom who's putting casseroles in the oven and going to jazzercise and also begrudgingly and holding this tight resentment of I have to do it all to prove it
Mhm.
was kind of the narrative. So that's what I was bringing into the relationship. And I had this anxious attachment that would meet Steve in his avoidant attachment. And my energy, like as I'm having this conversation about inner child work, noticing getting out of the head and into the body,
Mhm.
noticing how you feel in your body with overwhelm can be so supportive. So imagine the avoidant that's trying to withdraw, and then the person who runs an anxious attachment or a pattern of needing connection from their partner.
Mhm.
That is like this never-ending battle of someone pulling away, someone going towards, and it's just shut down and chase after, and there's no real heart connection when there's this desperate need of I need my space, but I need you to accommodate me. I need you to connect with my heart. And he's like, that feels really scary. So can you see how those play off of each
Mhm.
other?
Mhm. Yeah. It
Yeah.
reminds me of the memes right now. It's like whatever the year is, and it's like the person running and then your age that you're going to be that year, like chasing after you. That's what, like, that's the visual that came up. Like
Yeah, it's
38,
so
like 38
true.
is chasing after him.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, it's like sometimes we confuse conflict with threat.
Mhm.
So when we go into that conflict, there's a part of us that can really recognize in this space. So let's say you and Danny are having just a conversation about something, and then there's a disagreement on how something should be approached.
Mhm.
And we can either come from a place of emotional truth where we're grounded in what feels true and what feels regulated and what feels honest,
Mhm.
or we can go into a survival reaction. And there's a difference between the two. And, the survival reaction can look like that shutting down or leaving, like Steve did.
Mm-hmm.
Or some people get very defensive,
Mm-hmm.
and defense is like the first step of war. And overgiving or trying to fix and having this energy of, I'm not okay if you're not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so noticing the difference of the energy in a conversation or a disagreement or conflict with your partner, where you come from a regulated state of emotional truth, where you notice like a sensation that comes up in your body, and you're like, oh, I feel this like tightness in my belly. And just saying it out loud can help kind of soften the intensity and help you feel a little more regulated. And you can ask for space from an emotional truth and saying, I'm overwhelmed and I just need like 15 minutes, or this matters and I really want to stay present. So I love you. I'm going to be back. I
Mm-hmm.
just need to take a walk.
Yeah.
And reminding yourself too that emotional truth doesn't need to convince. So if you feel your energy leaning in to like get the validation from your partner, just honoring your need for a little space and to help feel regulated can be such a supportive place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thinking
Yeah.
through like the avoidant attachment, I think that's a common one in relationships too.
Mhm.
It's like for the anxious, I'm sorry, the avoidant anxious is what I meant to say there. I think the for the anxious, it's like, okay, instead of needing that other person, like helping us get safe in our own system, and it's like, okay, this emotion that I'm having, like I can support myself through it. Same thing for the avoidant, but the avoidant is avoiding feeling that they're running away, and it's the same thing. It's like, let me come back to it, still be with self, still have that time to process, but actually lean into the emotion. And so
Mhm.
I think that's the work that we do, right? Like helping people do that, helping them see like you have all of the tools that you need within you, and we're showing you the way. We're giving you that permission to go there.
Mhm. Yeah, I love helping people in-source instead of outsource.
Hmm.
If there's anything about our program that I love and the work that we do, it's I want people to be able to feel autonomous and sovereign, and like they have a curiosity to continue to learn who they are, but they don't feel like they need to be fixed.
Yeah.
Like they leave us having the tools to regulate their nervous system and make the best decisions for themselves,
Hmm.
and noticing when those patterns that you learned from mom or dad pop up, and like kind of almost imagining the version of you, from 5 to 10. I imagine little Shannon from a picture that I have.
Hmm.
And it's like, I see you, I feel you, I've got you,
Yeah.
reminding yourself that you're safe to be here
Hmm.
and that you've got this.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, that can be kind of a fun little image. Another fun thing I like to do is just have imagine um, an ocean with a bunch of waves, and the little version of me is swimming and just getting overwhelmed with the emotions of the ocean, like imagining that waves are emotions.
Yeah.
And so I imagine myself like pulling up on a surfboard and being like,
Hmm.
it's okay. We
Hmm.
can ride this wave of emotion. It only
Hmm.
takes 90 seconds to let an emotion move through us, based
Hmm.
on some research at Harvard, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And being able to do that is just like proving yourself that you have that self-trust and self-confidence,
Yeah.
self-esteem. And that's mother learning right there. That's what we
Hmm.
learn from mom. So if you watched mom help everybody else but didn't really take care of herself, how does that play out in your life? And how does that play out in your connection to yourself and your ability to be present and sexual and sensual and enjoy the intimacy that you have
Hmm. Hmm.
at your disposal?
Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm here with another recommendation. So sorry to interrupt your podcast, but I have to talk about the Foria products that one of my colleagues, Susan Bratton, she sent me these last year, and these have been a game changer in the bedroom for us. Like, I cannot stress enough. So I need to go over some of these things with you. So first off, the Awaken Arousal Oil. Literally imagine the best orgasm and sex that you've ever had. And now imagine that that could be even better. And that's exactly what these products are designed to do. They naturally enhance sexual pleasure and give you access to bigger and better orgasms. Yes. And like I literally I'm attesting to that right now. And what an arousal oil is, and Awaken, this is their words. Awaken is like a juicy warm up that helps you get really turned on, increasing your pleasure, deepening your orgasm, increasing your connection with your partner. Awaken uses CBD and warming sensation inducing organic botanicals that enhance arousal, sensitivity, access to orgasm, and overall pleasure. And best of all, Awaken just turns you on. Yes, you lady that is listening. And Foria Awaken is a proven product that actually works. 92% report feeling more aroused, and 92% reported reaching orgasm. So there is a pleasure set that they offer. This is what I would recommend to go with because you get to try each of their best sellers. So in addition to the Awaken Arousal Oil, you get within the pleasure set, it comes with all three of their best-selling intimacy products: Awaken Arousal Oil, the Sex Oil, and the Intimacy Melts. So Awaken stimulates her arousal and increases sensation. The Intimacy Melts helps her experience deep internal waves of pleasure, and the Sex Oil lubricates during sex and creates a juicy experience for the both of you. Literally, the magic combination of all three of these is the ultimate sexual experiences that will take your connection with your partner to the next level. These have been so good, so fun. Danny and I, when we're together, he's like, do you want me to grab the sex oil? And I say, is that even a question? Hell yes, let's do it. So if you want to check out these products, you can go to their website, foria.com. It's foria.com. And if you use the code MAIN20, it's going to take 20% off of your order. I gave it the wrong website. I'm so sorry. It's Foria Wellness, Foria wellness.com. And same code, MAIN20 is going to take your 20% off. And then on top of that, they're always running deals for like free shipping and things like that. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And I'm telling you, have I ever steered you wrong? Like these, these are so freaking good. Enjoy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to hone in more on the mother versus the father learning, specifically in the space of sexuality. And I think one thing that plays present for me in my mother learning was relationship to body specifically. Like what body was supposed to look like, what was hot, what was acceptable. I think another thing, my mom was in a lot of relationships as I was growing up, and learning that piece of right once you're done, it's on to the next once, and also needing the man to support you, not being able to be on your own self-sufficient. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's interesting. Again, just going through my sexual history timeline this week as an exercise, and just seeing how that also translated into my life. And
Mhm.
right now in obviously long-term partnership and plan to stay in this long-term partnership, it's interesting to do the healing work of that while in partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you almost have to take a break. For some people that I work with, I encourage them to just press pause
Hmm.
on their relationship as far as the sex part goes and allow yourself to notice how you show up and have the space to learn about the mother learning.
Hmm.
And yeah, I can talk a little bit more about that. And
Yeah.
again, noticing that it's mother learning, not wounding.
Yeah.
I really love the language of that. I'm a big language person because if it's wounding, it kind of paints us as a victim. And while we're not always responsible for what happened to us, we are here and that's what happened to us. And there's a level of acceptance and self-responsibility that we get to take and learning how to take care of ourselves,
Mhm.
despite the many challenging things. I mean, the stories that we hear and the learning that a lot of women have coming into the coaching that we do, it's just incredible the how resilient and how powerful
Mm-hmm.
that they are, despite feeling like they're broken and there's something wrong with them because they feel like they're missing their libido somewhere. They have to find it. So, that being
Mm-hmm.
said,
Mm-hmm.
for mother learning, yeah, reflect, and those of you that are listening, reflect on what you learned from mom. Reflect on how she talked about food, if she talked about food, how she viewed her body. Did she need the validation from others? Did she feel like she was carrying shame or guilt around her body? And these are all things that you felt, saw, or heard.
Okay.
So sometimes we feel things without things being said. Energy, we have the ability to feel the energy of a room. When you walk in a room and it feels lighter and brighter, it
Mm-hmm.
has an effect on you. Also, the opposite can be true. So, what did you notice that mom felt like? Did she feel withdrawn? How did she engage with your dad or stepdad, or maybe she didn't have any partners after having you?
Mm-hmm.
So just being able to see those learnings from mom and how they translate into your life, because oftentimes there's secret little ways that they show up. They can be our blind spots that we don't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that I uncovered some was inviting my husband to share, hey, when I do something that doesn't feel safe or is annoying or irritating, will you just point it out to me? Because now remember, he was the type that wouldn't say anything. He would go along to get along. So you may have a partner that's like openly sharing. So, the patterns run differently. But for him, he shared one time I was saying something and it was kind of snarky and the way that I said it. And he was like, "Oh, do you remember you told me to tell you when something came up for me that face that you just made? It makes me feel like I don't know what I'm doing."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like it. And I was like, whoa, that's totally something my mom did to my
Mm-hmm.
dad. And it was this like, you know, mom knows best. Men don't know what they're doing. Now they've been married for 40 plus 50 years now,
Mm-hmm.
51 years. And they have done a lot of work around themselves. And I think we all know that just because some couples are together for 50 years doesn't necessarily mean that they've had a happy relationship. So, yeah, just getting curious with what messages you learned. Now, there are some that might have taken that mother learning of men don't know anything and saw how dad was treated, and they may translate it in their world of, I'm going to celebrate the heck out of the man, out of the person in my relationship, out of my partner in the relationship, because I don't want to treat my dad the way my mom treated my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And they may take that pendulum swing way over to the other side where they overgive or undershare or let the man kind of guide the relationship without having collaboration. They may be the go along to get along
Mm-hmm.
because we usually take on that truth or we do the opposite. I'll give you one more kind of story about someone I worked with. Her mom didn't ever marry her dad, and she just was pretty chaotic. Didn't know when she was going to show up, didn't really, just kind of had this overall theme of being very selfish. And so she took that and said, I am going to be selfless, like internally. Her learning was, don't be like mom. I'm going to do the opposite. So she overgave with her family, her husband, very codependent, like, let me take care of everything for you. And through the work that we've done, she has put up boundaries. And this was a reflection in her work as well. Overgiving was her middle name. And she got to midlife, and that's where things crack open even more of like, we can't hold all this.
Mm-hmm.
And she started to learn, oh, I can have boundaries, loving boundaries that create spaces for me to feel rested and nourished while also allowing my kids and my husband to learn to take care of themselves because I trust that they have the capacity to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that one. That one landed pretty good in my system too. And thinking through that was also the messaging that I was getting from my dad. The don't be like your mom. And,
Mm.
parents were divorced at 2. I was raised by my dad. And so dad was the authority. Dad was who I spent the most time with. And yeah, maybe this is a good transition point. We've talked a lot about the mother learning, but maybe we can get into the father learning as well.
Hmm. And honestly, there's a lot of work around the mother learning
Hmm.
before people can really integrate what you learn from father learning because we can't engage in who we are fully if we don't have self-confidence, self-esteem, and self boundaries with self. We don't have integrity with ourself. So really, I'm going to share this, and the caveat is also spend lots of time in the mother learning. Learn
Right.
more about yourself. There's a lot of things that we can learn mentally because we can have an awareness and acceptance of who we are. But the root of our nervous system and where it learned that pattern is where you get to go back and get curious and replace that. So that means being able to meet your inner child where they learned these things
Hmm.
in a visualization, a healing seat, and allowing yourself to have the emotions that she didn't get to feel.
Hmm.
So for some people, they're like, emotions?
No, thanks.
I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just
Yeah.
then before we get into this, just I appreciate you noting that because I think you had shared it with me before that your relationship with your mom is your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with your dad is the relationship that you have with others in the world. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Look at me retaining information. Let's
Yes.
go.
Good job.
Um,
Yes. Good
so
job.
I do want to ask here too. So as you're saying, you're encouraging to do more work in the mother learning space. Is
Hmm.
this is the same no matter gender? Not so this is not just for women that are listening.
Yeah.
This would be for the men too.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that up
Yeah.
because the other thing was, so my husband went into this work thinking that he had the most challenge with his dad. And in reflection, he started to realize, oh, I had a lot of underlying resentment because mom did not stand up for herself.
Mm-hmm.
So the mother learning, he was like, okay, got it. We self-sacrifice, we meet the needs of others. So it can be confusing because I think a lot of us think we learn based on the gender that we are, how to
Hmm.
operate in that world. There's
Hmm.
some truth to that. And also really looking at what is it that we learn from mom because that is we come out of the womb and we feel like we are connected to this person
Yeah.
and we are a part of that person. Dad is the relationship that we have to others,
Hmm.
whether it's in love and in life, business, God, source, universe. So if you had a hard time trusting dad, if you had a hard time, uh, yeah, let's say trusting dad, I imagine that there's challenges in trusting anything bigger than yourself.
Hmm.
There's a lot around dad work that I can go into. I'll go back to kind of the basics, but it really helps you explore as far as sexuality goes, feeling safe,
Hmm.
noticing your need or desire for approval from dad. So for me, I had a very, kind dad. And also, you can imagine if my mom was kind of creating this version of him that didn't know everything and couldn't do all the things.
Hmm.
There were some parts of me that didn't feel like he was fully present. He would kind of check out. Actually, he would do a lot like what Steve did. He'd
Hmm.
just kind of go along to get along. And so when my nervous system met Steve's, we marry our unfinished business. So we partner with people that are unfinished business. So when I met Steve, I was like, ooh, I know this. I can play this role. My nervous system was like, this feels safe and exciting and yeah, this feels comfortable. And there's always that new relationship energy that peaks, when we first meet someone. And as it starts to soften and the excitement of the new relationship starts to wear off, those patterns start to show up where Steve is on his computer, kind of checked out. And I'm like, oh, I know what to do. I do the cooking, cleaning, do all the things of the house. I'm moving around. That's exactly what my parents did.
Hmm.
Only my dad was like paying bills and there were like stacks of paper on the dining room table. Steve is now literally at the dining room table with his laptop. So
Mhm.
it just felt familiar and like I know the part I play. I play the part of doing everything,
Mhm.
and you play this part of emotionally disengaged. And
Mhm.
so when we both started picking that apart, it was like, oh, that is not true for me. I want my partner, my husband, to weigh in and give me his perspective. And I want to give him the floor. I wasn't leaving him enough space to give his input.
Mhm. Mhm.
Same with the other person who was the selfless one who took on the role of taking care of her husband and kids.
Mhm.
She was like not giving them any room to do things for themselves.
Mhm.
So how does that play out? How is the relationship to dad play out for you? And I can name some that show up often in my work.
Yeah.
The dad who loves the daughter for certain things. So let's say it's
Ding,
a
ding,
soccer
ding.
player. You're so great at this thing. It's like they're living vicariously through you.
Mhm.
Or maybe they are really proud of you in one area of your life, but they don't really show it in other areas. So they're like, wow, you are so smart. I'm celebrating you in this thing. And you're like, really? I don't really like this thing, but if you like it and I'm getting this attention, I'm going to keep doing this thing.
Mhm.
So for some women, or some people, that's going to school for something they don't want to go to school for. You know,
Mhm.
I just recently worked with a man who his dad commanded everything. This is what you do. You're gifted in this. You're going to go to school to be an architect. And he failed out, but then went back and then used that proof of like, I worked really hard and I finally did it. But now here he is in his 50s and he's like, I actually don't know if I like it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm doing it.
Mhm.
But is it for me or
Mhm.
was it for the approval of dad?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So it can show up that way. Let's talk about it as far as sex goes. You know, the desire for approval. Maybe dad talked about, this is a tough one. When dad, you know, for girls who grow up and then hit puberty, and all of a sudden dad shuts down because they're like, I don't know what to do with you. You look like a young woman and I need to protect myself.
Mhm.
Or I need to like shut that door. You can't sit on dad's lap anymore. And that hugging and you know attunement and like co-regulation that you used to get, now all of a sudden it's my sexuality is dangerous. People will leave me if I'm too sexual. I
Mhm.
need to cover up. So there's a lot of things that come up around that. A lot of things around anger as well.
Mhm.
You know, that anger is dangerous. If dad was angry and didn't come from places of regulation, it
Mhm.
can be it can take a toll on the relationship that we have with our own anger, which is also a very powerful emotion that, when honored, can be used as a life force
Mhm.
and be able to be also the equivalent of some passion in relationship. So if you're like dimming that light, it can be hard sometimes to tap into that sexual energy because both of those feel so dangerous to some people.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, thank you. This is like I feel like I'm sitting here like, what do I say next? I'm just like so mesmerized with all of the all of the information because
Hmm.
it's so good and it's yeah, bringing up I think even a lot for me. And yeah, I think that's landing the most right now is the anger and really any big emotion that didn't have
Hmm.
great reactions attached to it. And I think that could be a part of the learning too of like how did we respond? How did our younger selves respond and what was the learning from that? Um growing up with a dad, right? Like now has a bipolar diagnosis, didn't know that growing up, obviously, but just not
Hmm.
knowing, like the walking on eggshells feel, not knowing what version you were going to get or what would set them off or, um, yeah, being scared to ask, like, can I go to my friend's house? Like, what, like, sensing, taking the temperature of the mood. And
Hmm.
I think that, yeah, that plays out in the relationship as well. My husband, luckily, is somebody I can probably count on two hands how many times I've actually seen be angry about something in that big way. But in those rare moments when it does show up, it's like, woof, okay, like I can feel it immediately, like, okay, like what do I do here? How do I fix this? How do I make this go away? Like, how do we get back to calm and back to regulated. And yeah, I think it's a good reminder of that's giving space for that. Like anger is a natural, normal emotion for them to have. And yeah, I think the downside is like the reactions that come with anger. That's the concerning part.
Hmm.
And knowing
Yeah.
that it doesn't just because that's how it was with my dad, that's not how it's necessarily going to be and play out through my husband.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you pointed out that hypervigilance piece.
Hmm.
And some people will think that just because they are a people pleaser, or I am a go-getter, or I'm a type A person, a lot of times they learn to be that way to
Hmm.
stay safe. And that's exactly what you're pointing out,
Hmm.
is that when you're using all this energy to try to stay safe and make sure that everyone's okay, because
Hmm.
you're not okay if everybody else is okay, then all of this, bringing all of this back to how does this relate to sex and intimacy? If we're
Hmm.
using all of these patterns and energy of hypervigilance and people pleasing and doing things, quote, the right way when really there's no right way to do
Hmm.
some things,
Hmm.
that takes so much energy and creates this disconnect in your body.
Hmm.
Because if
Hmm.
we can't have all those things come online, it's hard to fully receive pleasure. If you
Yeah.
learn not to show emotion as a kid, and you're expecting to allow yourself to feel full emotion in ecstasy and pleasure, it's very hard to do that when you can't really allow yourself to fully touch on anger.
Hmm.
So it's really powerful when you start to support the nervous system and notice these patterns from both mom and dad, and in a curious way,
Hmm.
allowing yourself some space. And there's more podcasts on this. And of course, the work that we do helps individually unravel this ball of like, we get to unlearn all these things if we learn them.
Hmm.
But being able to notice when, when I work with people, they will often touch those parts of emotion that seem like literal fire, like, "Ooh, I don't know if I can allow myself to be sad or grieve," because the adult version will step in and say, "What do you have to be sad about? Just get over it. That happened when you were a kid."
Yeah, I'll
And when
give you
you
something to
can,
cry about.
yeah, yeah. And when you recognize, oh, I didn't get to learn how to express emotions, and now you can learn what emotional hygiene looks like. It's literally like going to the bathroom. We don't do it all the time. We don't go to the bathroom in front of people unless they're people that we're comfortable with. Like
Hmm.
I'll go to the bathroom in front of my sister or my husband, or if my kid walks in, I'm like, going in the bathroom.
Hmm.
Number one, not really number two, but
Just to be clear.
just, yeah. But if you imagine that you have this emotion come up, something comes up and you feel overwhelmed or unsafe, you will likely feel, and you can reflect, for those of you that are listening, you can reflect on maybe a challenge that you've had come up recently where you felt overwhelmed. And where do you feel that in your body?
Hmm.
And is it tight? Is it a color? Is it a texture? And just allowing it to be there can help metabolize it. And then seeing if you can identify a time where you felt that way as a child. Like, oh, I remember feeling this way as a kid. I felt like I had to I had to seek for validation.
Hmm.
And now here I am leaning in, and I have a tightness in my solar plexus. And then what is it that your inner child needed? Is there an emotion that goes with that?
Hmm.
Is it confusion, sadness, loneliness? There's so many emotions out there. And just allowing yourself to go to the bathroom, wherever you are,
Hmm.
play around with that emotion. Like, oh, I just want to let it move through me. Maybe you kind of shake, breath, sound, movement are all ways that you can help that energy move through your body.
Hmm.
But there have been times where we have a punching bag down in our basement after we learned about this, and
Hmm.
Steve was learning how to express his anger, and I was too. We were teaching our kids. So sometimes we'll take it out on the bag. Sometimes I will just take a pillow and cry or punch it, or just, set a timer for 90 seconds and allow myself to feel something. Put on some music that's really sad
Hmm.
to help evoke that energy and get it moving. Because if it doesn't, it just gets stuck and
Hmm.
it shows up in ways that keep us from being able to access our full pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shannon. This was amazing. This was, I imagine, probably stirred up a lot for people listening today. And so you mentioned books, podcasts, like resources that people that are wanting to go down this journey learn more. I'd love to hear what you have because when I first learned about this from you, I was like, "Ooh, what else can I find?" And if you type in mother learning on Spotify, it's all like new moms. So here's what to do. And so I'd love to hear what you have as
Hmm.
resources for us or any recommendations that you
Yeah.
have for people listening.
Yeah. Well, I primarily work with women 36 and up who are approaching the perimenopause stage. And so I have two retreats a year that I
Mhm.
support women in really uncovering, and I work with two other women in that experience. So if you would like to learn more about that, I have one coming up in April.
Mhm.
And I do have, I honestly would suggest my mentor, Anat Perry with Training Camp for the Soul.
Mhm.
If you go to Spotify and type in Anat Perry, Anat as in Tom, and then Perry, Peri.
Mhm.
She does a lot of podcasts on mother learning, and there's one that I did with her on the dynamics and relationship. So if you all want to reach out to me
Mhm.
on my website or on Instagram, it's Shannon Hamaker. I can point you in the right direction. It's ShannonHam as in masturbation, AK as in kinky, ER.com.
I love that. I'm going to start saying M as in masturbation, AIM.
Yeah, there's so much out there, and just continue to get curious. And if a truth comes up and you feel a ping in your system, like for me, I noticed that when someone would wear something really sexy and they would be dancing online, I'd be like, oh my gosh, how could they do that? How
Mm,
could they just be out there like that? And it was really this desire for myself to want to be in my desire and to feel embodied.
mhm,
And it's just an invitation. So everything's an invitation.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you so much, Jan. We'll get all that linked in
Hmm.
the show notes for people. And thank you for the suggestion on a Knots podcast as well. I think that'll be a great resource too. And
Hmm.
yeah, thanks for doing the work that you do. And again, personally, just inviting me and opening my eyes to this stuff in a deeper way. And it's good. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel. I'm so grateful for you and just so inspired and impressed that you have kept this podcast going. I think it's so important, and the information that you're bringing is so valuable. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
Yeah.
it's yeah, and thanks to the listeners for continuing to show up after 6 years, because that definitely makes it worth it, knowing that people are actually still here after that long.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So wild.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. And please reach out if you have questions, or again, if this episode landed with you, stirred some stuff up within you. You don't have to go at this alone. There are people like Shannon and I here to support you through this. So until next time.
Hmm.
Mhm. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today on the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to pause and notice what stood out, what stirred something in you, or what you might want to explore a little bit more gently this week. If you'd like to support the podcast as it continues into its 6th year, subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing this episode with someone that you trust and love truly, truly means the world to me. It helps these conversations reach more people who need permission to feel less alone in their sexuality and their relationships. You can find more resources, programs, and ways to work with me in the show notes, and I'd love to connect with you beyond the podcast. Until next time, keep honoring your body, your boundaries, and your becoming. I'll see you soon.